I'm here to do a very short video regarding Lambda functions, just because it does appear that people are having trouble with Lambda functions. So this is just going to be very brief, very concise, addressing Lambda functions specifically. Right. So what are Lambda functions? Well, let's say we have a function here. So I have a function that takes an x, okay? And what does it do? Well, let's say it does 2 times x, okay? So if I do start equals function 3, well, this should give us, this should give us 6. So yeah, pretty much what we expect, okay? All right, cool. So we can say this gives us 6. So we define the function here that all it does is multiplies by 2. Cool. Now, what if we did more? So let's say we did function x. Let's say we don't want to like write it out like that. We want to write it in line. So this is something that's not just functional programming. This is in most programming languages nowadays. It's writing an inline function. So I can take this function here and write it inline. This is what's called lambda function. So we start with parentheses. So let's call x. Given x, what do we do? Well, we're just going to do this. So in fact, I'm just going to actually show you guys it by copying it. So given, well, x, we do that. So what I did was I took this function and wrote it inline here. So now this call here, this start call, is identical to the one above. What's the difference? I did not take this and write it out separately. I wrote it inline. Okay, so if we check that, it gives us 6 again. So this is in essence what a lambda function is. You are writing a function in line. So any function you can write outside, you can write as a lambda function. For practically. So let's say we wanted to do function x and y and z. Let's say we're taking in 3 variables here. Okay, what does x, y, and z do? Let's say we do 2 times x plus y minus z, something like that, okay? This is our function. So we'll say we'll start, and how do we call this function? Well, we'll say function, and we can give it 1, 2, and 3. You know, just where we have function here, we take 3 arguments, x, y, and z, and we do stuff. Okay, cool. Let's see what it does. Yeah, okay. It does basically that. So 2 times that plus that equals 4 minus 3, yeah, gives us 1. So anything you can write as a function, you can practically write as a lambda function. Whoops. So how would we write this as a lambda function? Well, I'm just going to copy this. So I'm literally just going to copy this just to show you guys that it's that easy. So we're not going to write function now. We're going to do this. Okay, so we're going to say this, start the lambda function, we open it, and I'm just going to copy this here. I'm literally going to copy and paste just to show you guys how straightforward this is. So given x, y, and z, like here, a function given x, y, and z, we give this. So if we actually save and compile and run this, it gives us the exact same answer. So this is the lambda function. You can do lambda functions. You can do some crazy stuff with lambda functions. So let's say my function, given a tuple of a and b, we do a minus b. So start is equal to, you know, function of 3 and 5. Then in this case, this will give us -2 because we pattern match 3 into a, pattern match 5 into b. Okay. Well, if it can be done as a function, it can be done as a lambda function. So let's do it. I'm just going to copy this here. And I'm going to replace this with our lambda function start. And then we're just going to do this. Copy this, that. So what is this saying? This is saying that given a parameter that's a tuple of 2 whatevers, we pattern match it into a and b and do this. So let's see. Yeah, gives us the exact same thing. So lambda functions have this cool thing you can do, right? Now, there's more to lambda functions than just that. And so why do we do lambda functions instead of doing, why do we even have lambda functions? Why don't we just write everything out? Well, because there's actually something you can do with lambda functions that you can't do with regular functions. For example, let's say I have function a here, okay? And I'm going to call function 2, which should take B and C, okay? Okay, so function 2 would take B and C, and also let's say we give it A, okay? So function 2 here will take A, B, and C, and let's just say it adds all them up. Let's just do something simple. Okay, so we do, no, actually let's do 2 and 3. Let's give it actual numbers here. Okay, so function A will give us function 2 with A and 2 and 3. So it'll add A to 2 and 3, basically. So we'll say start is equal to function of, let's in this case, I should call these all functions different. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay, so function 4 here, let's start with 5. Okay, so we should have function 4 passing a 5, which should be 5 here. So calls function 5 with 5, 2, and 3, which goes to A, B, C, and we add them up. Yeah, that should basically do that. Okay, so that gives us 10. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 5 is 10. Now, why do we do lambda functions? This is where lambda functions become extra clear. So, let's say I'm going to do here start equals func 4. I'm going to call it func 6 and 5, okay? So func 6, it's going to be identical to, func 6 will take an A also, and be pretty much identical to this one here. I'm just going to do pretty much the same thing, okay? So func 6 is basically func 4, but I'm going to rewrite it. So instead of doing func 5, I'm going to do a lambda function here. So I'm going to do doink, so lambda function, okay? And we're going to do given A, B, C, we do that like that, okay? So we're going to do given that. Except here's the thing. A is already a variable here. So actually I don't need it here. I don't need to pass it here. So why am I doing this? Okay, so normally function 5 should take 3 variables and add them all up. But here I'm only taking 2 variables, which I'm passing them here. So where's A coming from? This is one of the advantages of lambda functions. In the lambda function, so these variables here, B and C, have scope. What scope? They have a lifespan of literally just this little zone here. But so the variables that declared, so B and C are declared within this lambda function. They only have scope within the lambda function. But, and this is the big but and the reason why lambda functions are cool, they have access to the entire scope of the function. So they can access variables from this entire function. What does that mean? This function here, A, this function here that adds them up, I can grab A from out here. So just in case you guys don't believe me, there, it does the same thing. So I did not need to pass it A. It can just grab A because A is within the scope of the entire function. And that's actually the advantage of lambda functions, is that they can grab, they have accessibility to a scope bigger than themselves. Whereas here, so let's look at function 5 again. Function 5, in order for it to use A, we have to pass A to it. Because here, function 5, if we didn't pass A to it, there is no way it can access A from function 4. Impossible. It has no access to the scope of function 4, so it can't access the A within that scope. But this lambda function totally can. So this little short spiel I did right here. This is actually all you really need to know about lambda functions. Lambda functions are exactly this. That's all it is. You're just taking a function that you would normally write outside, and you just write it inside using this notation. So if you have xyz, you just do, parentheses, backslash, and then just paste it here. You can literally paste anything. You can even do pattern matching. You can do that. You can do a lot of stuff. Now, what are limitations of I mean, and also there's an advantage of to lambda functions. You can access scope things. But what are limitations to lambda functions? There are serious limitations. Well, what's a limitation? A limitation would be, let's say, function 7a. What does it do? Is even a equals one. Otherwise, if it's odd, we'll give a 0 back out, like that. Now this, in theory, yes, you can write a lambda function to substitute this. So if I do func 7 of 848, so this would give me 1 back because it's even. So in theory, yes, I can turn this into a lambda function, but because it's not a true one-liner, it's going to be a little messy and complicated. So why would you not use a lambda function? Well, lambda functions are limited when the function you're trying to put in line is not a one-line function. So if it's not a one-line function, it's probably better to separate it out. But if it is something if it's something that can be done in one line, generally simple functions like this, you add 3 numbers, and you'll go straight ahead and do it as a lambda function. In fact, it doesn't actually have to be a simple function because, as some of you may or may not have remembered, list comprehensions can do some really amazing, complicated stuff in one line. So anything that can be one line can be put into here, including list comprehension. So you can actually do some pretty sophisticated things with lambda functions. And given the fact that they can access things outside of their internal scope, so this is the internal scope of the lambda function, given that they can access variables in the function scope, it means that they are actually extremely powerful, such as if you have list comprehension that can access variables from outside. Like you can do some pretty crazy things. So this is lambda functions in a nutshell. And I'm just gonna comment this out. So all of this code will be uploaded, of course, as usual. This is lambda functions in a nutshell. There's really not too much to it, and I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it, but it's a very important thing to know, not only for functional but also every language, because writing inline functions makes for code that can be easier to read or more efficient, or even give you some little advantages, like here where you can write a function that only takes 2 parameters while just accessing parameters, arguments from outside its normal scope. So that's lambda functions in a nutshell. I hope this helps you guys. Please practice it. It will help you in the test, and if you have any questions, be sure to ask me via email or chat or during consultations. Thank you.